Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Mariane Pinkston. Join Dr. Pinkston today as she teaches you how an integrative approach to health, combining holistic and contemporary medical information, can lead you to the better life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Mariane Pinkston.
Everybody, and welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. I am Dr. Mariane Pinkston, and I am on San Antonio radio on Sundays at 4 o'clock, competing with football these days, which is terrible, but also the show will podcast out to iTunes and iHeartRadio and Spotify, any podcast platform that you would like to find us. Also on YouTube, which is my favorite, because then you can actually see me and my guest and some of the information that we have. But today, we are going to talk about a topic that is probably long overdue, and I have the honor of having a repeat guest on today that was with us not too long ago, but has some new information on long COVID. I think many people at this point have gotten COVID and now are I think people are beginning to understand and see the effects of how COVID is here to stay and how it is affecting us. I had it a couple of weeks ago, and I'm telling you, I'm not quite over it yet. I feel the same. So Beth Shirley from up in Austin, a clinical nutritionist and pharmacist, is here with us. She works with Berkeley Life, and we had a show on nitric oxide, which was a very, very popular show. But Beth, welcome in. It's always great to have you and see you.
Good to be here.
Thank you. Well, you have some new information for us, I think. You've been studying this and looking into it. Tell me, kind of set up the show here for, long COVID and what it really means and kind of where we are going with this.
Well, a nitric oxide deficient state to begin with makes you more susceptible to get the virus.
Yes.
Or even to have, with the nitric oxide deficiency to begin with, and then this virus actually makes you more nitric oxide deficient. Because a spike protein attacks the hemoglobin and makes that iron not able to carry oxygen. So this makes you hypoxic, which contributes to the fatigue, because if you don't have enough oxygen circulating around, ATP can't be formed.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And so the virus makes you even more nitric oxide deficient, and it takes you longer to get over it.
Right.
And when you don't have enough nitric oxide, you have impaired circulation and microcirculation. And all of the activity, all the happenings happen down at that microcapillary place. This is where the oxygen, glucose, and nutrients get delivered and the debris to be carried away.
Exactly.
So our brains need that microcirculation, like really, really bad for us to be able to think.
Yeah.
Because the brain, it's like about 2% of our body weight, but it uses about 25% of all of our oxygen.
Right.
Because it needs to be, it needs to be functioning.
Yes. And I noticed that is probably out of all of the post-COVID, long COVID symptoms, and you don't even have to call it long COVID for all people, but I think for most people who have had it and then several even months afterwards, I think the fatigue and the lack of brain function ability to, word find and come up with a thought and easily forget things. And, those are the things that I think are top as far as complaints. I know that has affected me. I'm really, really shocked at how, I'm usually fairly quick, and as long as I'm taking my hormone replacement and things like that, taking my, nitric oxide supplements and all, I do really well. The last couple of weeks, I have really noticed the brain just doesn't want to jump in and be there when I need it. And the fatigue, also exercise, my ability to exercise has been down, the ability to just get up and go in the morning and all that. So I think those are the top complaints that I get.
Yeah, you need extra. You need more nitric oxide to help you recover.
Right.
So just doing, the nitrate-rich veggies, arugula, spinach, butter lettuce, bok choy, celery, beets.
Right.
All of these are nitrate-rich veggies. So you need increase those or increase your nitrate supplement like Berkeley Life.
Right.
To increase that nitric oxide.
Exactly. And I do think that is one of the best supplements. I know that there are a ton of different supplements, all of, which can make claims about increasing nitric oxide and whatnot. But I do think you guys have by far the better supplement for that. And I'm going to leave some information for people about how to reach out if you're interested, how to reach out and get the supplements. But one of the things that I'm really concerned about, honestly, is where are we going with this? Because COVID is not going away. It is here. It is a part of our world, and it's a very divisive subject, and I know there's many people on both sides politically or just opinion based, but it's here. So now that it is, how are we going to deal with it? We could get it up to 2 or 3 times a year, and is this going to be additive? I'll just use myself for example. If I'm feeling like this now, and I just get up and get recovered, and then boom, I get it again, then how is this going to be additive, or what's the science on all of this lately?
That's the thing. The true science, we don't really know.
Right. Good question, huh?
Okay.
Right.
Because they don't want the true science out there.
Mm-hmm. Seems
my
like
opinion.
Right.
And I just spent 3 days at a conference with other clinical nutritionists, and it's to get the real information out is a challenge.
Yes, it is. And I think it's been, the real information is good information. It's scientific based. And that is what is so bothersome to me for the most part, that we do have scientific based real information, but now there are so many extreme opinions on both sides. So the extreme opinion for, the extreme against. And so there's always great science that can bring us our knowledge to the middle, where we can have a common ground and understand and just look at the science. What is this? What is it really doing? How are we going to deal with it? But for now, with the extreme views, it's taking us to, a battleground where we can't fight. We can't even talk about it. We unfriend people off of Facebook, if they disagree. But there's really great science out there. And I don't know how we are going to, as a nation, as a world, get to that common ground so that we can deal with this. This is very serious. I have patients now who have a lot of heart problems. So I've seen an increase in congestive heart failure. I've seen an increase in just people with palpitations, just, shortness of breath and chest pain and a lot of pulmonary problems, more asthma, more allergies. I'll use my son for instance. He has had COVID a couple of times. He did have the vaccine. And he is not sick in any way. He's a very healthy boy, thank God, not sick in any way. But we had to look at a problem with his eyes and had to get an MRI of the head. And the eye problem was okay, but guess what we found? We found an intense amount of white matter changes on his MRI with the brain that is equal to somebody who has very severe multiple sclerosis. Now, the kid is not sick, thank God for that. Where did that come from? So I know our family is loaded with autoimmune illnesses. I have one, and so I'm assuming maybe that's what it is. But the neurologist feels very strongly it was, COVID related. She says that they have seen a 600% increase, over the last couple of years of, white matter changes and things like MS and dementia and all these things ever since, COVID, especially the first couple of rounds of COVID have come out. We're in trouble.
Well, it's the spike protein related.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's spike protein. So you get that with the virus, but you can also get this with the jabs. The spike protein destroys the endothelium of our blood vessels. And then these endothelium, what happens is it kind of makes what's called ghost capillaries. So these capillaries aren't even open in order to deliver the necessary nutrients, oxygen.
Yeah.
And without enough oxygen, you become hypoxic. You can't make ATP. You can't make the energy to do anything.
Right.
And so cells have to be no more than 2 cells away from a functioning microcapillary. Mm-hmm. And if that's a ghost capillary, nothing's being delivered, or it's full of little clots from the spike protein, then that tissue is going to die.
Right. It's just
and that's what we're seeing.
Slowly growing, kind of like a slow stroke in a way, right? It's just
exactly,
and just a small death or a slow heart attack, and it's not just the big clot in the event. It's like little hits at a time.
Well, they're even seeing increased autoimmunity.
No, yeah, no doubt about that.
With the spike protein, yeah.
Right. So if folks, kind of wondering about ATP and the mitochondria and energy effects and whatnot, I had Dr. Anthony Capasso on not too long ago with our show talking about all of that, so people can go back and reference and see about energy. But the reason I keep, bringing things like this to light is because this really is the heart of our dysfunction. How many people I have seen over the last years have come to me and said, I just feel fatigued. I can't get up in the morning. I can't sustain my work. I've had people retire early because of it. It just, it's devastating. Then you add something like this, a layer like this on top of it. And I have told, in several, lectures that I've given or whatnot, and I'm sure everybody agrees that we, in the next probably 5 to 10 years or so, I think every single one of us are going to have some form of an autoimmune disorder. And that it was kind of slow going. I think it was food based and stress and toxin based and whatnot, and our gut problems. But you add on COVID now, and I feel like that was just the shock that was needed to push us over the edge. And now, the foot is on the gas. We are headed for disaster.
Yeah.
And what is there any of this at this conference that you were at? Was there any new information, any new solutions, anything that we can do to protect ourselves?
Well, we have to start cleaning up our environment. Mm-hmm. No doubt. Not only what you're eating, but also the EMFs. Mm-hmm. EMFs makes our response to, it diminishes our immune response. It's called an immunosuppressant.
Right.
So it makes us more susceptible to virus, bacteria, fungi, pathogens. So start turning off your Wi-Fi at night, and start, and even with the nitrate supplements, you're actually helping to protect your body and your blood vessels from the oxidative stress from these EMFs. Okay, don't be using these fabric softeners. Every day when I'm down on the trail, somebody runs by me and they've just got this cloud of a fabric softener that just follows them. And I think, in a few years, there's an autoimmune patient.
Yeah.
These chemicals are bad, and the chemicals we put on our skin.
Yeah.
Start cleaning up our environment.
There's an incredible science with that, and I had direct a lot of my patients to ewg.org, which is an app and a database, that you can get on your computer, internet-based. But it is a place where you can check all of your foods and your makeup and your house cleansers, candles, all those things that, and I talk about it in clinic as hormone disruptors because I have a lot of women who have hormonal problems like estrogen dominance and things like that. So I could talk about that. But in something like this as well, anything autoimmune, we have to do that. There's a lot of people who don't, and it's probably a bigger subject than we can get into at the moment. We're about to have to take a break, but there's a lot of people who really don't understand, but also do not believe that the airwaves, EMFs and things like that are involved, that, this is harmless. But I think if you can see, as our technology has grown, we've become sicker, and there's a lot of different effects from our environment that are on that, and that is part of it. Where's a good place that people can read more about that and learn more about it?
Well, on YouTube, on the Berkeley Life Professional page, I actually have a whole webinar on the effects of EMF
Great.
and the physiological actions in their body.
Great.
So they've known that they cause hypertension, diabetes since the 60s.
Wow.
The hypertension and diabetes are the main comorbidities to even getting this virus.
Right.
So those are nitric oxide deficient states.
You're right. Well, I will be sure to include that information on the website so that people can look in and hear about that. So that brings us up to coming up to our break. For that information, you can find Beth, you can find me and all my other guests and information at drpbetterlife.com. And that has all the links to YouTube and the platforms for iTunes and all of the podcasts. So drpbetterlife.com. And also, I want to say a few words about a great sponsor that I have, and that is Pinnacle Clinical Research. Dr. Stephen Harrison and his group are doing a lot of work on fatty liver, which is a very important topic to me, because that is something. I don't have fatty liver, but I have autoimmune hepatitis, which acts the same, another autoimmune illness, right? And so I just want to give a little bit of information about getting a free FibroScan to get screened. Even if your LFTs aren't elevated, you could still have fatty liver, and there's lots of information on my website, drpbetterlife.com. But for Pinnacle, 210-529-7978 in San Antonio. You can also go to pinnacleclinicalresearch.com. Again, all of this is on my website at drpbetterlife.com, including information on Beth Shirley and Berkeley Life and what we were talking about this morning. We are going to take a very short break and come right back and talk a little bit more about long COVID and what we can do as a society. And thank you. We'll be right back.
Fatty liver is linked to two different situations, alcohol and diabetes, or obesity. In both cases, patients can have no symptoms. In the United States, and in particular, Texas, the most common cause of liver disease in general is non-alcoholic fatty liver. Again, associated with overweight, obesity, and/or diabetes. Additional risk factors include high cholesterol, high blood pressure, Hispanic ethnicity, and postmenopausal status. At Pinnacle Clinical Research, we offer a quick, non-invasive ultrasound-based screening assessment called FibroScan. This test is done at no cost to you, and we do not take insurance. The test will measure the fat and stiffness in your liver and stage your risk and development of fatty liver disease. You will meet with a provider immediately following your scan to go over your results. If you're interested in getting more information on your liver health, please call 210-982-0320 and schedule your FibroScan today. We are conveniently located in the Medical Center at 5109 Medical Drive.
Welcome back. We are talking with Beth Shirley today about nitric oxide supplementation, but in regards to long COVID syndrome, because we are seeing this more and more, that as all of us finally, there's no more COVID virgins left. There are not many anyway, as we are seeing this infiltrate the society. There are people that are previously very healthy getting sick, and then people who are previously not very healthy getting sicker. So we are going to try to attack this topic this morning and see if we can come up with some solutions. Beth and I were just talking about a load of information and webinars that she has done with Berkeley Life. And so what is a good, this is going to be on my website, so drpbetterlife.com. I'll have all this information and links, but where can people go immediately and get information on you and these webinars?
On the Berkeley Life Professional YouTube page, I have a bunch of talks and webinars.
Wonderful.
In fact, I put out one in April of 2020 on the nitric oxide deficiency connection with this virus.
Gotcha.
And then I re-upped it last year. I redid it and added more information as more information came in.
Fantastic. Well, fantastic and reliable, extremely reliable. Beth has studied nitric oxide. I don't know how long this has been your topic of focus, but you know more about it than anybody I've ever met. And I know since I've met you, I feel a ton better taking it and understanding it. And I have plenty of patients who are doing much better too. So the supplement, tell us about it and how people should take it and what they should expect.
It's Berkeley Life. And it's a nitrate-based capsule. Mm-hmm. And usually it's 2 capsules once a day. Mm-hmm. And then add some nitrate-rich veggies at lunch and dinner. But there's some test strips you can use to make sure you can get those levels up and keep them up.
Right.
But once you have the virus, I recommend more than just 2 once a day. And if you're trying to get over it and you just can't get over it, then up it to 2 capsules twice a day.
Right. Exactly. Well, good. Then I've been doing it right.
Yeah.
I found it very helpful. Even before I had COVID, with my autoimmune illness, very inflamed, just tired, having very, lots of difficulties thinking, focusing. And so after I talked with you, I believe, in Austin at the seminar for PD Labs, then I started taking the supplement. It was almost like an instantaneous change. It was extremely helpful. Now, with all the stressors in life and then getting COVID on top of that, it's time to up it probably. But it is extremely helpful. So it's something that I absolutely advocate. And we'll have lots of information about that. And people can go to drpbetterlife.com and find our previous talk, which was wonderful. It was very popular. I've had lots of great feedback on that. And then I know that they can find you directly and all this information. So we've got that 7 minutes I told you was going to go really quickly. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to cap this talk off today with?
Right. Well, nitric oxide is at the base of every single physiological process.
True.
With impaired circulation and microcirculation, it doesn't matter what else you're doing. It can't get to where it needs to go.
Right.
So there's a lot of things we can be doing for the long COVID, but get the base first. Open up that circulation.
Right.
So it allows your vitamin C, your melatonin to get to where it needs to go.
Absolutely. Good point. I know we spend a lot of money on supplements, and if they're not getting where they're supposed to go, then you're just flushing them down the toilet, basically, and it's not really helping. Lots of great anti-inflammatory supplements and whatnot, but if it's not getting there, it's not helping. So at the base of it all, nitric oxide, and that is what we would love for people to improve on. So Beth, I, as always, appreciate you coming on and giving us some fantastic information, and I hope people will go to the Berkeley Life site, and I will lead them to there through drpbetterlife.com. And as always, I appreciate you so much for coming on today. Take good care of yourself.
Thank you very much.
I hope to see you soon.
You should be able to.
I hope so. You're always. Yeah. Oh, are you going to the December Congress in Las Vegas?
Probably.
Good. That'll probably be the next chance I get to see you there. But we will have in December A4M, or the American Academy of Anti-Aging and Medicine and Regenerative Medicine, has a huge conference, several days worth, and it is hour after hour of information. So after December, we will have a lot more information on long COVID and other things. So I look forward, hopefully, to getting you on again and talking more about it. But again, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Everybody have a great day. Thank you.